Manchester United 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. You see the title there. Do they even care? We'll get straight into it. Alex and Jordan both here, obviously. It's another in a long line of performances where you're questioning things like, are they bothered? Because we've tried changing everything else. We changed the manager. That didn't work. We changed him. People like Maguire, not played tonight. He's been shocking, not played. Luke Shaw had a few weeks off. Fred had a few weeks off. Rashford, Bruno. They've all been rotated. Every single one of them. Wan-Bissaka, not good enough. He's gone. People look at McKenna. People look at Carrick. They're all gone. The only thing left is mentality and the players that are playing week in, week out. I don't understand how we're seeing what we're seeing every single week. 1-0 today, could have been the same against Burnley, could have been the same against Newcastle. It's just another in a string of terrible performances, isn't it?
Yeah, it's poor. And like we've said as well, it's the simple things we've got wrong again. Giving the ball away so easily, just simple passes and even the good things that we've done, breaking forward a couple of times today where you've looked like we might have a chance. The next pass has been a bit behind, a bit in front, too hard, whatever it is. It's not making the wrong decision, shooting instead of passing. So in the first half, Cavani was through, didn't pass it to Mason. It's just, you don't know how, you can't, again, this isn't something that can be coached. And I think this is something that, everyone who was, backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer all the way through said, you know what, you can say 4-2-3-1 isn't right. You can say McFred's wrong and all these different things. But the big thing is that there's something not quite right with these players, and it's just the simple things. And the goal kind of sums it up. You're expecting Traore to bully past someone at some point. He's a good player. He's got that in him. We win the header. It's dead simple. But midfield, gone. No one pressing Moutinho at the edge of the box. The amount of goals we concede.
And he's not 30 yards out. He's bang on the edge of the 18-yard box.
Where no one's there to clear it. No one's there to challenge him until McTominay kind of stumbles towards him eventually. And he's not enough. And again, you're kind of going, do you know what? De Gea didn't have to make that many saves. He had the Neves one where he pushed over in the first half. And then he couldn't obviously make the save for that goal. But that was it. There wasn't. They played very well, Wolves, and we were pretty bad. But we didn't get battered in terms of them constantly making De Gea make really good saves. It wasn't that kind of thing. But again, we didn't seem to have anything going. There didn't seem to be something that United were looking forward to or whatever. And there's a point, like you've mentioned, we've got rid of all the coaching staff. We've got a full new set of play things in. And it's the same things again. I've seen people already tweeting, Donny van der Beek, what does he have to do to get on the pitch? Well, what is he doing to get on the pitch? Because you've now got two full new sets of coaching staff that didn't quite fancy him, that didn't quite do it. That, like we've said all the way through the watch-along today, we've kind of left on the pitch the ones that we hope it's just going to fall to and it work out. Yeah. It's not a case of, do you know what, maybe he fits in the system better. It's kind of just leave that front four on. Keep Ronaldo and Cavani on because something will fall for them. Put Bruno on because he creates stuff. Put Rashford on because, he does have the odd one that goes in. There's nothing. It's just really, really poor.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Jordan?
Yeah. It's easy, innit? It's easy to sort it out. Just get rid of them all.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And start again.
I say that being as genuine as I'd like to come across because I'm sick and tired of having the conversation week in, week out of, I hope this guy turns up, or maybe he'll be on form today, or should we swap him because he's not been in the greatest form for someone else who's not had a string of games, so they've not been able to build up form. None of these players are currently in form. None of that, not one. You can talk about your stats, Ronaldo, 14 goals or whatever so far. The best player on the pitch today, not even taking a mick, was Phil Jones. And he was.
He's the one who did his job to the highest standard of every position on the pitch.
But I
think Phil Jones brought the ball out better.
That's not us.
It's up in the air.
That's not us just having more eyes on Phil Jones because he's not had a game in 700 odd days and we're going, all right, let's just keep a closer eye on him and see how he performs. He was the better player on the pitch than any in the Man United team. Everything that was wrong with this performance and has been in every game that we've dropped points or we've won, even though being very poor, has been due to our own fault. Passing atrociously off today. Probably the worst passing performance I've seen from us all season. Everything overhit, sometimes underhit. never finding a man, having 5 seconds of space to make a decision. Bruno did it loads, Matic did it loads, Cavani did it loads. They have space in the middle of the park to make a decision, to pass it or dribble. They get stuck in between both decisions, don't make a decision, lose the ball. That was one of the most frustrating watches, especially that second half, I think, all season. Just from the fact that it's delved from your own doing. And as you mentioned before, there's a talk of either mentality or the players now. Stop talking about mentality, because the people who got brought into the club were some of the best players in the world and have won absolutely everything. These players are simply not good enough. They need to just get out. Ralph Rangnick needs to do something.
The problem with that, though,
and get rid of him.
The problem with that is that we've seen these players play better than this. That's the problem. We saw this team finish second last season, and then you bring in absolute monsters like Varane, like Ronaldo, who no question of their mentality, unless you want to say, it slipped as they've got older, but I don't see any example of that. Sancho's another one who maybe hasn't got the mentality of winning multiple Champions Leagues, but he's a top player who's won, trophies for Dortmund, has put up ridiculous numbers for years. The players we brought in were meant to improve the team. And I'm not saying they've made it worse, but we have got worse this season. Yeah. And nothing seems to be fixing it. Philip Owen with the super chat, absolute disgrace. Just seems they have zero passion. Just happy to get paid. Awful. I'm done with it now. We've got a few more super chats as well. I'm just getting to a few of these. One from Shummerful says, we won 12 games by a 3-goal margin. We were real title contenders before September. Ronaldo is the issue, apparently. We spoke about that during the watch along. I don't agree with that. I don't think
shouldn't even have to be a conversation.
It's not like we're getting the ball to him and he's putting it wide. I know that does happen occasionally, but that's not the problem. Surish says Jones was our best player. Ronaldo was so poor. Still amazes me how McTominay puts on a red shirt every week. We have no cohesion in attacks. I agree with that. Matthias Anderson. Phil Jones probably the best player on the pitch and he has not played since baby Jesus left the crib. The players need to put a shift in, for fuck's sake. Mike Hentz criticising all his tactics when we probably didn't even get to see his tactics. That's something I do want to talk about, so we'll have a chat there. I said it during the watch along, but Ralph Rangnick was brought in, and in much like typical Manchester United fashion, this manager hasn't worked, so let's pick the inverse of X. Do you know what I mean? Ole didn't work because we don't think he was tactically sound enough. He didn't quite have that sort of high-end coaching ability. So let's bring in the most tactically sound, high-end coach we can think of, a man who's pioneered the style of play that is dominating Europe at the moment. Let's bring him in. So we flip one side to the other, and we look exactly the same. And for bar 30 minutes against Crystal Palace in the first half, which happened to be after 2 days training, almost like they were pretending or they were doing some sort of like acting version of what they thought Rangnick would want, the more time he has with them, the less we see his style of play being played. And I don't know whether he's decided, like you mentioned, Alex, maybe the fitness wasn't there. They checked the numbers on the fucking little heartbeat monitor thing saying they were expended too much energy against Crystal Palace. We can't play like that anymore. Maybe that's what's happened. Or maybe the players aren't doing what they're being told. And maybe, like you said there, we criticise all his tactics. Maybe we never got to see his tactics because it looks exactly the same as it did with a manager that's notorious, a stickler for tactics, a stickler for you stand here, you stand there, here's when you press, activate this, final fucking third that, and nothing's changed. And I can't understand it. And the passing, like you said, it must just be a confidence thing because at any level, the passing we've seen today from United is unacceptable. But I can't see how it's going to change when we change the managers, we change the coaches, everything gets moved around and fit around these players, and then we just see the same performances week in, week out.
The only bonus about today is we've got 7 days off now. That's the only thing that you can possibly say is that the COVID thing's impacted things or whatever, and then this is making excuses, and it's not making excuses. This is possible excuses that could be the reason why behind this. It's just not worked, and again. So we've gone back to. It seems like we've gone back to sort with what we did at the start of the season. Just have the players on the pitch. You hope it falls to, with some way, shape, or form. Yeah. Hope again. The only hope is now you've got 7 days until the Aston Villa FA Cup game, which yet to be seen. What Rangnick decides, how important he takes that, and whether you can say that we're going to sack that off, but is that our only best chance to win the league? It's
of course it is. Best chance to win
a trophy. Sorry.
Yeah.
So you've got that. Or you go, do you know what, it's another 7 days, we've got to go and work on things and try something new. But something's got to change because everything today was just, it looked all over the place. No one really seemed to know where they were meant to go. But again, they're just showing you this on Sky now, and isolating Adama Traore and Luke Shaw. In what world is that the right thing to do? I mean, number one, it's the fault of everyone around Luke Shaw for just going, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
But then Luke Shaw screaming, oi, drop in here and do stuff. It doesn't seem like, again, I think this was the problem last season as well. It seems like so many times we kind of look around, someone says, well, that wasn't my job.
Yeah.
Or that, I've done my job, I won that header. You know, and it's not dragging people around and moving and doing the right things. And again, you know, this all happening here, and yes, we've got Sutton and all that's wrong, but there's 3 players outside the box.
Yeah.
No one's gone, you know, you've got Cavani, Ronaldo and Bruno. One of them didn't switch on and go, do you know what? Let's stand behind the 2 lads that like shooting from outside 20 yards.
Yeah, and it's not the first time they've had the ball like that. There's about 3 corners where they're getting shots from the edge of the box because we don't track them down, we don't close them down, we don't stand there. Harriet with the super chat. Harry Jit, sorry. It seems at the moment that our younger players are so in awe of Ronaldo that they're always trying to pass to him when we're through on goal. Kaelin, Murphy, very few players playing for the badge. Feel for Ralph. I think we've got a couple more super chats as well. But before we get to those, we spoke about the passing. There was a good point made in the watch along in the chat talking about scapegoats and how things get portrayed. The biggest, not necessarily scapegoats, but the people who've had the most criticism this season were Solskjaer, obviously by a mile, ended up losing his job for it, Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford. Now, I don't think Rashford had a particularly good game when he came on. Maguire didn't play today, but you would never have known because it was the same sort of shambolic performance that we've seen. But do you think that this is bigger than those individuals, and that we've over the season, especially in the case of Solskjaer, I'm not saying he shouldn't have gone, and you know, I think the time had come. We all saw that, but it's bigger than just change one person and this is fixed. Get rid of Maguire and this is fixed because they're gone. They didn't play, and it was awful.
This has been the problem since Sir Alex Ferguson left. You know, that season, the Moyes, I remember it was Tom Cleverley's fault. Like, they were the people going wrong. Danny Welbeck, why is he playing? Why isn't it him? Why is Juan Mata coming into the team? Why is it, you know, why is Wayne Rooney still playing? All these questions got asked. And then Louis van Gaal, it's him, it's Fellaini, it's all that kind of stuff. Why is he playing? It's his fault. Jose Mourinho, why isn't Fred coming off? You know, people saying about Fred, you know, slating him. For the first 6 months of Mourinho, it was, the last 6 months of Mourinho, it was, why has he signed a £50 million player and not played him? It's why is Pereira not playing? He's done well in pre-season. He should be playing. He's the one that's going to fix it. It's his fault. Take this player off. It's the same thing now. You're isolating people. Why is he playing Freddie McTominay? The problem is we've got no good midfielders. Matic is okay. He's not much better. McTominay again's poor. This is the whole thing. Why don't you drop Harry Maguire? Well, because the other option's Phil Jones, and he had a good game today, but he's not good enough. Why don't we get rid of Wan-Bissaka? Well, Delo's come in the last few weeks and hasn't pulled up trees. He's not good enough either. Yeah. It's all these different things of going, it's his fault. If you just swap him out, it'd be all right. If Donny played, it'd be fine. No, it's not one player coming in that's going to fix it. The team in general just isn't right. And maybe this has been a switch since the start of the season. We've talked about, is Ronaldo the problem? I don't think Ronaldo's the problem, but I think that maybe it's upset things a little bit. Maybe the plan didn't quite get together. And now the players that had the confidence last year that went, do you know what, this was going to be the system. It was going to be this 4-2-3-1. It was going to be Mason there, Rashford there. That was going to be set. And then Ronaldo's come in and it's not quite worked and they've not quite figured it out or whatever it is. Maybe that has thrown it out. But you've got to be better. You should be better. It shouldn't matter who's on there.
That shouldn't matter.
They're good enough
that
to
shouldn't
do it.
matter.
You look at the players we're playing against, Jordan. Joelinton last week, the other week for Newcastle, battered us. Today, you know, their midfield and Padence battered us. Like, every week there is a player that, no offence to them, because they're good, you know, wouldn't get in Man United's team. Cristiano Ronaldo would get in every team that we've played against this season, except maybe Liverpool. We know he'd get in City's team. They wanted to buy him. So all of the players that are so-called problems, or, you know, battering us or making us look stupid, having great games against us week in, week out, wouldn't even play for us. So it can't just be personnel. I agree with you, Alex. Our midfield isn't good enough at the top level. We're not going to be able to challenge City, Liverpool, Chelsea, because our midfield fundamentally isn't good enough. But we're being torn apart by fucking Joelinton, one of the biggest wastes of money in the history of the Premier League. Yeah. Like, why is it that our players always look worse than the team they're playing against, no matter who it is. Do you have any explanation for that? I'm not expecting you to be some genius who knows everything that's going on, but to me, I can't get my head around it. Every single week we sit here and we're bored by incompetence, and I can't get my head around it.
To me, it's almost as if when we're playing the so-called lesser sides of the league, our midfield especially drops down to their level of football, which then gives them more confidence to play around us. Yeah. Because all of a sudden, as you mentioned, Newcastle, it was absolutely pants. And our midfield is allowing Joelin to run through it, who was signed as a striker, who's been playing on the left wing for 18 months, who became a box-to-box central midfielder and bossed a £50 million Brazilian who plays every game internationally, a Scottish international, and whoever else is in the midfield.
Yeah, one of the best attacking midfielders in the world, Bruno Fernandes.
Making him look like nothing.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to just say, get rid of him. Like I said, the easiest thing to do would just be get rid of him all. But what they did when they signed him was do what United do every single time and put him on stupid, lucrative bumper contracts that's too expensive for him to pay off and get rid of, to a point where if you got rid of 2/3 of that deadwood in that squad, you'd have no transfer funds. Because you're paying off the wages, you're paying off the contracts, they're paying off the years off it. You won't have any money.
No.
So I genuinely don't know. I can't understand how Ralph Rangnick now is gonna swap these players' mentalities to match the two players in the team who warrant to start every game, which is Varane and Ronaldo.
Here's a question for you, Alex. An annoyed user here says, if this continues for the rest of the season, which managers would take the job on a permanent basis? I think we'd still get good managers. We're still better than most teams, but surely one thing a manager can do is change people's mentality. Like, is that possible, or have we just seen too many examples now of that not happening with this squad? Because you would think maybe you can't make them better, you can't make them a better passer, whatever, but you can change the mentality. That's one thing Jose was always so good at in his early years. He comes in and makes a team that never thought they could win anything. He turns everyone in that squad into, absolute mental monsters for him. But surely someone can change the mentality of this team. Maybe it's Rangnick. We're still only 6 games in, but we can't get rid of all the players. That doesn't happen. How can this change?
I don't know. Again, you don't know what a manager can do now. Can they, inspire this team to do better? Of course, there shouldn't be any need to do that. And there's you're playing for Man United. There shouldn't be any need to go out there and be told to work harder or do whatever and to show a bit of pride and stuff. It shouldn't need to be done. What again? You've had you then go back to say, Mourinho was good at it. Mourinho came in and did his thing and it didn't work. And then you get, again, we've done the complete opposite again. You had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer come in and just go explain to, get through to players what it means to play for Man United. They should have got that. For 3.5 years of being there, they should have got that off Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, off the fact that, even just this year coming back in, the stadium being the loudest it's been, even through some of the worst run. We went through a patch we didn't win between the Newcastle game and the Arsenal game in the Premier League at home.
Yeah, it was that 6 weeks or something?
6 weeks. So it was September to nearly into November or something ridiculous like that. They should know that this is quite a special place to be, but it just doesn't seem to be that case. And again, I think there's a problem with quality. There's definitely a problem with quality in and around there. You've got to change it. But again, it felt when Ollie left that one manager was going to come in, make a couple of changes, make a couple of signings, and we're not far away. But then again, it now feels like we're miles away. And this top 4 thing now, we're again slipping away from it. We said before the game, you win this game today, you've got an eye on Chelsea of where you are. You lose this game, you're now looking at where Wolves are. You look at the thing there. They're only 3 points behind us now. We're now 2 points behind Tottenham, 3 points behind West Ham. We're a way off now. We've got to win these games in hand to even have a chance. And you've got to think next season, we're losing Cavani at the end of this year. That's our little bubble of Champions League and doing that gone with him. Ronaldo, at best, is going to do a year after that. You've missed that chance of those 2 players. And now, again, we've gone through a rebuild under Ollie. Are we having to do it all again? Is it all going again? Because, again, Varane come in and he's not as old as those 2 are. But, you've seen the injuries this season. How long has he really got at peak level now. Are you missing? You felt like this season that Ollie went go and win something with this team. We've
put all his
let's
chips
gambled
in.
on. Let's get Varane. Let's not get another young centre half. Let's not go out and get a young centre forward. We're getting Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's go and win something. You've missed out. You've missed this season pretty much, unless we have a.
I mean, we are still
run.
in 2 cups. One hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
And Chris Richardson here says it takes time to adapt. Dippers were shit at first under Klopp. Needs a few of his own choices to come in, and Rashford has fallen off a cliff, which is worrying. Bit of optimism. It does take time to adapt. 6 games isn't time, really, in the grand scheme of things, especially when you consider the interruption from COVID, not just in terms of playing matches, but players not training properly. Steve was saying that I don't know if they still are, but they were training in groups of 6 to try and minimise the spread of things if there was, that was still going through the squad. So the number of training sessions is still certainly under 20, maybe under 15 on the pitch. Who actually knows how many it is? So it's still very early on in the tenure of Rangnick. I'm not ruling that out, but does it worry you? I mean, does it worry you that the players don't seem to have given that boost? Because I think a lot of the time the new manager boost is really the players trying to impress the new manager. It's not the manager coming in and, hey, look at this magic trick I can do, when they're all like spellbound and they just go out and play like zombies. It's them trying to show off, look, we're actually quite good. We're not seeing that. So does it take time to adapt, or do you think these players are just sort of taking the piss?
No, it does take time to adapt.
Right.
But the difficulty with comparing Klopp's start at Liverpool with, say, Ralph Rangnick or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or whoever you want to compare coming into the club is that the look on Liverpool then was that they're absolutely rubbish. They've got one star player, it was Felipe Coutinho, I think, right?
Yeah, it is.
The rest of that squad were bang average at best. You're thinking Mignolet, Skirtle,
Milner was
Daniel
still
Agger.
there, but
No, Milner was still at City.
not Milner, I meant
You know,
Henderson, sorry.
Divock Origi was starting every game.
Yeah.
This Manchester United
Was
side,
it Lovren and
Lovren as well,
Klein?
right?
Yeah.
This Manchester United side has superstars, arguably some of the best players in their position throughout the spine of the team.
Yeah.
So the look and the sort of... I'm trying to think about the best way to describe this.
Klopp was given 11 players. Klopp was given a new 11. Klopp started again.
He started again, and he didn't go out and spend stupid money either. He saw players who he thought would have potential, who weren't exactly youngsters, but had done well in a previous season in a different league. I look at Salah, I look at how Mane played at Southampton, Virgil van Dijk playing at Southampton. And he went, right, I want these because I'm going to nurture him. I'm going to make him into a better player and just bring him in. No, Fred has been brought in and he's probably not better, or he might have even got worse than how he was playing at Shakhtar, because at Shakhtar he was banging free kicks in left, right and centre, box-to-box midfielder. Scott McTominay, you got nothing to compare about because the majority of our fans had never seen what he looked like in the academy.
Well, he's 5'6"
prior
to
right now, right? The difference is that you can't really compare them two unless one, all of a sudden United start again. New manager, they go, right, I'm going to rip the team from the core and go, we'll get rid of Maguire, get rid of Shaw, get rid of Wan-Bissaka, get rid of all these players and start again and do similarly to what Klopp did. Or you go out and just go and sign the big names and hope they gel together again.
It's not just the personnel, though, is it? It does take time for a new system to come in. It's not
of course.
just getting new players in to fit that system. Sometimes, it takes a while, regardless of even if Klopp had, let's say Klopp came in and had the exact team he has now when he came in, it wouldn't necessarily have meant overnight success.
No, I'm not saying that it would.
No.
But it's obvious now. Some of these players have gone through 3 managers.
Yeah.
Right? And it's still not working.
5, some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah.
And it's still not worked. So when is it going to take someone up top or at the helm to go, right, you're simply not good enough and you've been lacking in every other man who's been here before me, you need to go. Simple as.
Abdullah Ibrahim with a super chat sort of references that. He says, most of these comments are just based on who's the scapegoat. It's a problem with the entire culture in the club. It needs fixing upstairs. No matter which 11 start or who the coach is, it will be the same. That's the thing that worries me.
But I thought
it doesn't seem to change no matter who plays.
Again, I thought we'd fixed it. I thought this was the Ollie thing. I thought the whole point and thing that we defended and all this and said all the way through, and Gary Neville said at the start, I like this team again now. I hated the old team and what he's done with it, thinning out a few players. It feels like it's going the other way again. It feels like you've now got a team you don't trust anymore. You don't feel like they're working hard enough. this was meant to be what Ollie had done. Ollie was meant to have stripped it back, and it'd been a cultural reboot. Was the word that had been used the whole time. Where do we go again from here? You know, if we've got to do another cultural reboot, how long is that going to take? Are all these players going to go? And this was again the worry of changing Ollie is that you've got players that he signed. You've looked at Wan-Bissaka today. We put our eggs into him. It looks like he's nowhere near the level and isn't getting better. He's probably feels like he's regressing. He feels like he's getting worse. You look at Luke Shaw again. He had that 6 months under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but he looks like he's gone again, kind of thing. There's obviously the midfield, but we went from the start of the season going, if we get a midfielder, we'd be all right. If we get a midfielder, we've got a team here to win the league. You know, we've got a team to do something here. And people were expecting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to win the league with this. We're now looking at, you know, we've got to get a whole new back four. Maybe Varane, if he can stay fit enough, is good enough to do it. And maybe one of the youngsters comes through in there.
We still haven't got that midfielder though.
No,
we haven't signed a defensive midfielder since Morgan Schneiderlin.
Does that fix everything?
Well, no, it doesn't. But it makes our midfield better, which fixes the midfield.
Is that again? But that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It felt like we were one piece away.
Yeah.
6 months ago.
Is it only one though as well?
Whereas now it looks like we could replace 6 of them players over again, not
Easily.
just over these 6 performances, but over the season. Fullbacks can change. You probably said you need another centre half. Goalkeeper, is he getting on the bit? You could probably shift De Gea out there. You've then got the midfield issues. You've obviously got. You then go in as well. The 2 strikers that are playing now. Rashford's not starting. Martial's gone. Greenwood's not starting as a striker. The 2 strikers we've got are only going to be here for 2 more years at best. They're 70 odd years old. Between them.
JS Gray says, revolutionary idea, sign players in areas we are horrifically bad in, i.e. central midfield and fullback. Neves would be a start. He dominated today yet again.
This is the whole thing, is it? If we get one in, we'll be all right. We've said this for years.
Yeah, there's big problems in there. I don't really, I can't fix it in my head. No. That's the problem. That's the worry. I feel like we've tried the obvious things. We've dropped players who were playing poorly. Fred, Fernandes, Rashford. Maguire's not been dropped, obviously, but he's been poor and he's been dropped and he's not played. Wan-Bissaka was dropped. Shaw was dropped. You know, pretty much everyone's been dropped. Even Ronaldo was dropped. We've dropped all the players that were playing poor. It doesn't get any better when you change them. So there's something more than just bad form. It's a mixture of things probably, but I can't work it out in my head. That's my worry. I can't see how to make this better.
12 days between now and the next Premier League game. We've got to be better.
Yeah. That still worries me.
Villa on Monday.
That still worries me, the fact that there's 7 games between the next game, because I'd rather him just have one in 2 or 3 days and have another go and start again. But
we'll see.
What can you do?
Right, we'll be back obviously tomorrow with the news. We'll have all the updates throughout the week. Manchester United don't play next weekend. They play on Monday against Villa in the Cup. We'll be covering all of that, of course. Shocking performance today. Rangnick's first loss. United 0, Wolves 1. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Jordan, for suffering through. Thank you to everyone at home for suffering through with us as well. Very poor from United today again. We'll see you in a bit.